My name's Nathan. I'm 31 years old, single, and to my family at least, I might as well be a ghost. You wouldn't guess it from the outside, not when I've been the one pitching in behind the scenes. I helped my parents knock out their second mortgage, stepped in when my sister's tuition came up short, and handed my brother $5,000 when his startup started sinking 2 years back. And no, he never paid me back, but honestly, that part didn't bother me. I've done all right for myself. I work in software, quiet job, steady paycheck, decent place to live, nothing fancy, just comfortable. I've always been the dependable one, the guy who shows up, picks up the tab, avoids the family theatrics. I wasn't expecting a standing ovation or anything, but I didn't think I'd end up being ignored either. So when Derek, my brother, announced he was engaged to Morgan, the same Morgan who once called my job charmingly average, I decided to bite my tongue. Not because I liked her, I didn't, but because Derek looked happy. I figured maybe if I played nice, she'd eventually stop acting like I was one of the waitstaff. I went out, bought a proper suit, RSVP'd early, even offered to help with last-minute wedding details. No response. Not a thank you, not even a "we've got it covered," just dead air. At the time, I blamed it on the chaos of wedding planning. About a week before the big day, I stopped by my parents' house to drop off a $2,000 check as my wedding gift. I handed it to my mom with a grin and a handwritten card tucked alongside it. She barely looked at it. "Morgan's parents are footing most of the bill," she said, with a vague wave toward the dining room covered in RSVP cards and half-finished centerpieces. "They're very involved, very organized." She said it like it meant something, like a warning. And I should have caught it. That tone always meant one thing in my family: stay in your lane. The night before the wedding, they held a rehearsal dinner. I wasn't invited. When I asked Derek about it, he muttered something about wanting to keep it small, mostly the wedding party. I laughed it off, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. It was his wedding, I told myself. Maybe I was just overthinking it. On the wedding day, I showed up early in the nicest suit I owned, even brought along my camera to snap some casual photos. I was really trying to show up for him. I'll admit, the venue was beautiful, a lakeside lodge, sunlight dancing on the water, strings of white lights draped from rustic oak beams. But the second I walked in, something felt off. The usher looked a little thrown when I gave him my name. He scanned the seating chart twice before finally pointing, somewhat reluctantly, toward the farthest corner of the reception hall. "Table 18, I think," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. I headed over, assuming maybe it was a table for extended relatives or distant acquaintances. Instead, I found a wobbly folding chair jammed behind a massive wooden support beam, half blocked from the rest of the room. When I sat down, the chair groaned and shook beneath me, to my left. One of the DJ's towering speaker stands. It felt like someone had gone out of their way to find the single most isolating corner in the entire venue and decided it was the perfect spot for me. I stood up, just to double-check. My name was printed clearly on the place card, no mistake. Looking around, I spotted familiar faces sprinkled near the center of the room. My cousin Josh and his fiancée had scored a prime table, dead center. Derek's old college roommate, who he hasn't talked to in years, was seated near the front. Even Mr. Benson, Derek's high school chem lab partner, was cozied up next to the bride's aunt like some kind of honored guest. I took a deep breath and walked over to the woman managing the seating. She had the headset, the clipboard, clearly in charge. Before I could say a word, she gestured dismissively. "Back there," she said. "I still on her list." I said, "Actually, I just wanted to check. Was there maybe a mix-up? I'm the groom's brother." That's when Morgan's mom, Chloe, walked by and stopped just long enough to twist the knife. She gave me a quick once-over, her mouth puckering like she'd bitten into something sour. "Oh," she said, all sweet and sharp at the same time. "That was Morgan's decision. She didn't think you were really part of their side of the family. We wanted close family up front." I blinked at her. "I'm his brother." She gave a shrug and added, with the kind of smile that feels more like a slap, "But you're not in the wedding party, are you?" I didn't reply. I just walked back to my sad little chair and sat, legs shaking, caught somewhere between stunned and furious. I couldn't even see the head table from where I was sitting. When the music started and everyone rose to watch the bride walk in, I had to lean awkwardly around the column just to catch a glimpse. No one looked my way. No one noticed I was even there. During dinner, not a single person joined me. Apparently, table 18 was overflow. The extra chairs stayed empty. I spent the better part of an hour pretending to scroll through my phone, doing my best to stay composed, but I hit my limit during the toasts. Derek's best man shared a mediocre college story. Morgan's sister gushed about how Morgan had dreamed of this day since childhood. Then Morgan's father took the mic and said, "We're so grateful to have every single person here with us tonight. Each and every guest here was chosen because you mean something deeply to Morgan and Derek." And that was it. That was the final straw. I reached into my inner jacket pocket and pulled out the card I'd written earlier, slipped the $2,000 check inside, no cash, just a simple check with "For your future" scribbled in the memo line. Then I started walking straight toward the head table, straight toward the mic. People turned their heads, eyes narrowing with confusion. One of the groomsmen furrowed his brow, clearly wondering what I was doing. I didn't wait for permission. I just stepped up and took the mic. "Hi," I said, keeping my smile as even as I could, though it felt more like a grimace. "Sorry to interrupt." The room went quiet. "I just wanted to offer my congratulations to the happy couple. Truly, may your marriage outlast the little bit of respect I had left for you." That's what I said. And in the stunned silence that followed, I calmly reached across the gift table and picked up the envelope I'd placed there just hours earlier. I heard someone gasp, no idea who. Derek looked like all the color had drained from his face. Morgan blinked like I'd just started speaking in tongues. Across the room, Chloe looked like she was ready to leap over the tables, but I didn't give her the chance. I placed the mic back onto the stand, not with any big dramatic mic drop or flare, just enough to hear the quiet thump, then turned and walked straight out the door. I passed the DJ, the servers, even the valet who tried to hand me a ticket. I didn't stop walking until I hit the parking lot. That's when it really hit me. I didn't start the car, didn't even reach for the keys. I just sat there with both hands on the steering wheel, watching as guests started to trickle out of the venue like ants swarming out of a kicked-over anthill. I caught glimpses of them through the lodge windows, faces pressed to glass, whispers bouncing from one person to the next, like I'd peeled back the curtain on a well-rehearsed play and exposed the entire production as fake. Good, let them talk. Let them wonder why the groom's brother reclaimed his gift and left before the cake was even cut. And then my phone exploded. First came Derek, just his name lighting up my screen. I let it ring out, then the messages started pouring in. "What the hell was that? You embarrassed me. In front of everyone. We need to talk, now." Then Morgan chimed in. "That was tacky. This was MY Day. You've always been jealous, I see it now. You owe Derek an apology." I tossed the phone into the passenger seat like it was giving off radiation. I had nothing to say to either of them, at least not yet. That night, I didn't go home. I checked into a hotel instead, needed to get away from the noise. I didn't sleep, just lay there on my back, staring at the ceiling. The whole night running in loops through my head. I thought about how long I'd played the role of the quiet helper in this family. The holidays where I quietly did dishes while Derek cracked jokes that got all the attention. The birthdays where I was the one taking the group photo, not in it. Every interaction with Morgan had felt like a stage play where I'd wandered in mid-scene as the janitor and no one handed me a script. The next morning, I swung by my place to grab fresh clothes and take a shower. That's when the group chats started lighting up. Apparently, the story had made its rounds. A few cousins reached out privately, said they'd noticed how I'd been treated. One even said they tried to sit with me, but were told the table was already full. Full of what? Air and humiliation? Then my mom called. Straight to voicemail. Her message had that familiar clipped tone, sharp and firm like a ruler across the knuckles. "Nathan, I don't know what's gotten into you, but your little performance ruined the reception. Derek and Morgan are crushed. Call me back immediately." I didn't, not yet. Instead, I wandered, got coffee, walked down by the river, just to get some air and perspective. I needed to remind myself that I wasn't losing my mind, that what happened wasn't a minor oversight or social slip-up. It was intentional, a clear, deliberate message. You don't belong. And yeah, it hurt, way more than I expected. The part that kept echoing in my mind was the note I'd written in the card. "Wishing you a love that lifts each other higher, the way families should." Now it felt like the punchline to a bad joke, one I hadn't realized I was the butt of. That evening, everything started shifting. I logged onto Facebook, something I usually avoid, and saw the first wave of wedding photos start popping up. All the expected shots, polished, professional, everyone in their best angles. Morgan beaming with that practiced, pageant-perfect smile. Derek grinning like he hadn't watched his own brother walk out mid-toast. But then came the comments. At first, just a trickle. "Hey, where's Nathan in the group pics? Didn't Nathan give a speech? Thought I saw him near the mic." And slowly, people started noticing. I didn't have to say anything. I didn't comment, didn't post. I didn't need to. Sometimes silence speaks loudest. That night, Derek showed up at my apartment. I didn't answer right away. He knocked 3 times, then said, Come on, man, please. I cracked the door. He looked rough, hair a mess, shirt wrinkled. All the wedding day glow had worn off. What stood there wasn't a groom. It was just my brother, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Can we talk? He asked. I let him in. He sat down carefully on the edge of my couch like he wasn't sure he was allowed to be comfortable. I stayed standing. I didn't know they were going to seat you back there, he said. I stared at him. You didn't notice your own brother wasn't up front? That I was behind a damn column? Sitting alone. He rubbed his face like he was trying to erase the night. Morgan's family handled the seating, he said, voice tired. I was focused on everything else. Her mom's obsessed with controlling every detail, Derek said quietly. I didn't want to fight her on it. I raised an eyebrow. So you just didn't fight at all? He hesitated. I thought you wouldn't care. You've always said you don't like attention. That made me laugh. Not the nice kind. The bitter, cracked kind. Yeah, I don't like attention, I said. Doesn't mean I enjoy being shoved behind the goddamn speaker like I'm a seat filler in your life. He winced. Okay, that's fair. Silence sat between us. Then he added, Morgan thinks you owe her an apology. I stared at him. He didn't even flinch. I'm not saying I agree, he added quickly. I want things to go back to normal. I folded my arms. Normal is you taking and me staying quiet about it. That's over. Another pause. He looked at the floor. So what now? He asked. That was the question, wasn't it? What now? After a lifetime of being the backup plan, the emergency contact, the brother you forget in the background until you need someone to lift a box or fix your Wi-Fi. What now? I didn't know yet. But I knew what wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going back. And I think Derek knew it, too, because as he stood to leave, hand on the doorknob, he turned and said, You really took the check? I met his eyes. Yeah, I did. His voice dropped. She's furious, her mom too. Good, I said. Maybe next time they'll think twice before treating someone like furniture. Then I shut the door. I didn't hear from Derek for days after that. I didn't expect to. That conversation had ended with a kind of quiet finality, like two people standing on opposite sides of a bridge that had been quietly collapsing for years, and maybe I'd just been the first one to admit it was already gone. But while Derek kept his distance, Morgan and her mother kicked off a full-blown PR campaign. Suddenly, their social media pages were all sugar and subtle venom. Morgan posted a perfectly filtered photo of her and Derek under a gazebo, captioned, So grateful for the people who actually support our love, two arts. Then Chloe chimed in. You can't choose your family, but thank God we chose ours. Comments poured in, most were congratulations, some were confused, a few started asking questions. Wait, wasn't Nathan there? Did something happen? Where was the best man? I didn't say a word. But I was done playing defense. See, I didn't want revenge, not exactly. I wanted clarity. I wanted the people in our lives, the people who'd witnessed the photos, the posts, the polished lie, to understand what actually happened. Because silence doesn't protect the innocent, it protects the powerful. So I made a decision. A week after the wedding, I sent a message to the extended family group chat, you know the one, where birthdays get forgotten but passive-aggressive memes from aunts never miss a beat. I kept it simple. Hey everyone. Just wanted to clear the air about the wedding before more stories spread. I was invited. I showed up early. I dressed up. I brought a $2,000 gift. I was seated behind a column, alone, next to the DJ speaker. When I politely asked if there was a mistake, Morgan's mom told me I wasn't really part of their side of the family. So I left with my gift. Just wanted you to hear it from me, not whispers. Then I attached a photo, my place card, table 18, slanted on the white linen, inches from the massive black DJ rig. No rant, no drama, just facts. And the fallout? Immediate. Aunt Linda replied within minutes. What? I thought you weren't even invited. Uncle Dean. That's disgusting. You're his brother. My cousin Aubrey dropped a picture she'd snapped during dinner, a whole empty table, mine. Then came the bombshell. Another cousin wrote. I overheard Morgan at the bridal shower say, we just need to keep his side low-key. They're not really photo material. Photo material. It was like someone dropped a lit match onto dry kindling. People started calling Morgan out directly in the comments on her posts. Is this about Nathan? This is not how you treat family. Wow, I thought you guys were better than this. Morgan deleted 2 of her wedding photos. Chloe locked her account, but it was too late. Then came the group message from Mom. Nathan, that was incredibly disrespectful. We don't air family issues in public. I stared at it for a beat, then typed back. Didn't seem to bother you when they humiliated me in front of 120 people. She never replied, but others did. Even people I didn't expect. A few of Morgan's own cousins messaged me privately, saying they were shocked. One of them, someone I'd only met once, wrote, "You were literally the only one who showed up early and helped us set up chairs. This is insane." I hadn't even remembered doing that. I guess when you're used to being the helper, you stop keeping score. But here's the twist no one saw coming. Turns out, Morgan's dad, Jeff, is a part owner of a business I'd been negotiating a freelance contract with. Nothing big, a side gig, some web work. When he found out I was the brother who stole the spotlight, he told his assistant to pause discussions immediately. And that was when I realized this wasn't just family politics. It was a system, a network, a story carefully curated and now cracking at the seams. I only found out because the assistant forwarded me the memo by mistake. The subject line? "Do not move forward with Nathan, too much drama." That was it. I wasn't even surprised, just disappointed. Not because of the job, but because I realized they still weren't done punishing me for having boundaries. So I burned the last bridge I hadn't already walked away from. I still had the card. The check had long since been voided. But the note I'd written back when I still believed that wedding meant something, still folded neatly in my desk drawer. I took a photo of it. Then I wrote a new one. And this time, I didn't send it privately. I posted it publicly. Here's what I originally gave my brother and his wife. Before I was treated like a wedding crasher at my own family's table. Before I was told I wasn't really one of them. Before I was called classless for walking away from a situation where I was clearly not wanted. I've spent years putting everyone else first. Paying bills, showing up, staying quiet. This time, I chose myself. If that makes me the villain in your love story, so be it. No hashtags, no names. But everyone knew. That post got more likes than anything I'd ever put online. Dozens of people reached out. Some to apologize. Some to vent about their own families. Some just to say thank you for standing up for myself. And Derek? He texted me that night. Just one line. "You really done with all of us?" And for the first time, I didn't hesitate. "No, Derek, I'm just done being invisible." I haven't spoken to him since. But I heard from Aubrey that Easter brunch at our parents' place was awkward. No Morgan, no Chloe. And Derek? He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Meanwhile, I took that $2,000 and booked a solo trip to Japan. I hiked in Kyoto, ate sushi alone, sat in silence at a temple, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. I didn't go just to get away from them. I went to remember who I was before them, who I could be without them. No passive-aggressive phone calls. No group chats full of birthday wishes to people who forgot mine. No guilt trips from people who only knew how to take. Just me. I wandered Kyoto's alleyways, wooden houses, moss-covered bamboo fences. Drank matcha in the mornings. Watched temple bells echo across courtyards. Hiked through the Fushimi Inari gates in silence, red arches stretching up the mountain like a spine. And somewhere between breath and sweat and the scent of pine, something in me clicked back into place. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. While I was away, only one message came from my family. A blurry group text from my mother. A photo of my niece holding an Easter egg. "We missed you." I didn't respond. Not because I don't love my niece, but because I know what my mom really meant. We missed what you used to do for us. We missed the version of you that didn't fight back. The version that smiled politely when seated behind a column. The one who wrote generous checks without expectations. The one they didn't have to consider because they assumed he'd always be there. But that version of me was gone. When I came back from Japan, my apartment felt different. Like it actually belonged to me now. I started redecorating, not out of boredom, but with purpose. I threw out the worn couch my parents gave me when I first moved out. "It's still good enough for you," my dad had said. I bought a new one. Midnight blue, velvet, dramatic. Pointless, maybe, but mine. Work picked up. I said yes to new projects. I reconnected with old friends I hadn't made time for in years. Turns out, when you stop bending backward for people who barely see you, you finally notice all the doors that were waiting to open. But of course, nothing stays quiet forever. It started with my mom. She showed up one Saturday morning unannounced. I heard the knock, saw her through the peephole, standing there with a Tupperware of lemon bars like we were in some sitcom. I didn't open the door. She knocked again, then tried the handle. "Nathan," she called out. "Are you home?" I stayed silent. She waited, then set the lemon bars on the welcome mat and walked away. I threw them in the trash. A week later, a letter arrived. Not a text, not an email. An actual handwritten letter in my father's rigid cursive. Son, your mother is very upset. We feel this rift has gone on long enough. You've made your point. Let's put this behind us. Derek and Morgan are trying to move on. You should too. No family is perfect. Let's have dinner next Sunday and talk this out. You're still our son. We still love you. It should have made me feel something. It didn't. Because here's what that letter didn't say. I'm sorry. Not once. No acknowledgement of what they allowed to happen. No apology for dismissing me, for ignoring me, for watching me be treated like an outsider, and deciding it wasn't their place to intervene. Just a soft guilt trip wrapped in let's move on, so they wouldn't have to confront the truth. So I wrote back, Dear Mom and Dad, I'm glad you love me, but love without respect is just possession. You raised me to believe in the importance of family, but somewhere along the way, that word came to mean tolerating people no matter how they treat you. I don't agree. I showed up. I supported all of you for years, quietly, consistently. And because I never asked for anything, you assumed I needed nothing. But when I finally drew a boundary, you acted like I set the house on fire. You didn't miss me. You missed the version of me who didn't stand up for himself. That person is gone. I'm not coming to dinner. I'm not ready to pretend everything is fine just because it's easier for everyone else. If you ever want a real conversation, with real accountability, I'll be here. But until then, please stop knocking on my door expecting the past to answer. Nathan. I mailed it. No dramatic mic drop, no cryptic social media post. Just a quiet truth, sent in the same envelope my father used to reach out. I don't know what they did after reading it. Maybe they cried. Maybe they got angry. Maybe they tore it up. But they didn't reply. And that silence? That was the loudest apology they could give me. As for Derek and Morgan, word got around that things weren't exactly smooth. Aubrey told me Morgan had been pressuring Derek to cut ties with toxic influences, which, in Morgan speak, meant anyone who didn't kiss her ring. Apparently, Derek pushed back. He's stubborn, but he's not blind. Maybe he finally saw her for who she was. The last time I saw him was by chance, mid-morning at a cafe, both of us alone. We locked eyes. He gave a small nod. I nodded back. That was it. No words. Just two brothers, changed, pretending the distance between them was just air. But you know what? I was okay with that. Because, for once, I wasn't looking for his approval. I had already given it to myself. And that may sound small, but when you've spent your whole life being treated like a background character in someone else's story, choosing to be the main character in your own is the biggest plot twist of all. I'm not bitter, not anymore. I'm building something new now, something that doesn't require me to trade dignity for belonging. And if, one day, my family knocks on my door with more than lemon bars and guilt, if they come with humility, with apology, with genuine change, I'll listen. But until then, I'll be here, on my midnight blue velvet couch, in my apartment that finally feels like peace, in a life that, finally, feels like mine.